Whispering Pines. Even now, just saying the name aloud sends a chill crawling up my spine. I didn't go looking for horror or the unknown. I was just trying to escape, trying to find a place where I could breathe. Life had closed in around me. The constant buzz of my phone, the demands of a job I hated, and the creeping sensation that my days were just blurring together into a gray, suffocating fog. I needed a break. I needed the kind of silence you can only find under a sky full of stars, in the middle of nowhere. So when I found an old hiking forum that mentioned a secluded forest reserve called Whispering Pines, a few hours northeast, I didn't hesitate. The way they described it, untouched, silent, almost sacred, was exactly what I was craving. It wasn't even marked on most modern maps. Some claimed it had been a protected forest decades ago, then mysteriously shut down. One post, dated 2009, warned hikers not to rely on GPS, saying signals got patchy and compasses sometimes spun uselessly. That should have been my red flag, but I dismissed it as urban legend, just internet campfire stories. I left on a crisp Friday morning in October. The sky was cloudless, my backpack was light, and my mind felt clearer than it had in weeks. I brought the essentials: tent, sleeping bag, a week's worth of food, water purification tablets, and a solar charger for my phone. I drove for hours until pavement turned to gravel, then gravel to dirt, until even the road seemed to give up trying. Finally, I reached a crude chain strung between two rusted posts. A sign hung crookedly in the center: "Entry at your own risk." I parked off the road, slung my pack over my shoulders, and stepped beyond the chain. Almost immediately, the air changed. It wasn't just cooler. It felt heavier, like the forest was holding its breath. The pines towered above, gnarled and dense, their canopy blotting out the sun so thoroughly that even in the middle of the day, it felt like twilight. The path beneath my feet was narrow and wild, like no one had walked it in years. At first, it was peaceful, quiet in a way that modern life never is. But after an hour, I noticed something strange. There were no sounds. Not a single bird call, no rustling in the underbrush, no buzzing insects. Just the soft crunch of pine needles beneath my boots and the faint whisper of wind through the trees. But even that wind didn't sound normal. It had a rhythm, an almost human cadence, like the murmur of voices too faint to understand. I hiked for several hours before setting up camp in a small clearing near a dry creek bed. As I pitched my tent and boiled water for dinner, I couldn't shake the sensation that I was being watched. Not by an animal. It felt more curious, intent. I forced myself to focus on the fire, convinced that it was just the unfamiliar silence playing tricks on me. That night, I lay in my sleeping bag staring up at the thin slit of starless sky above. The trees loomed over me like towering shadows, and I swear they shifted when I blinked. Sometime past midnight, I awoke to the unmistakable sound of humming. It was faint at first, just a low, melodic murmur. But it grew louder, slowly circling my tent. It was a woman's voice, soft and sad, humming a tune that sounded both ancient and familiar. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't dare unzip the tent. I just lay there, frozen, as the humming passed by one side, paused near my head, then drifted away into the darkness. The next morning, everything looked the same, but it felt wrong. The path I'd followed the day before was gone. In its place were twisted roots and overgrown brush. I checked my compass, but the needle spun slowly, like it was unsure of itself. I tried to retrace my steps by memory, but every direction looked identical, dense pine trunks stretching into the gloom. I walked for hours and found nothing familiar. No creek bed, no clearing, just more forest. And then I began to notice things. Carvings in the bark, symbols I didn't recognize. Spirals, crude faces with empty eyes, and tally marks in clusters of 5. At one point, I stumbled upon a pile of bones. Small ones, like rabbits or squirrels, stacked neatly in a triangle formation with red cloth tied around them. The air was colder there. My breath came out in visible puffs, even though it had been mild earlier. I told myself to stay calm. I had food, water, shelter. I could wait it out. I even tried marking trees with my knife, but within an hour, the marks were gone. Either the trees had healed or I was walking in circles. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat up by the fire, gripping a hatchet I'd brought more for chopping firewood than defense. And then I saw them. Figures, just beyond the firelight. Tall, thin, and still. Not animals. Not people. Their outlines were vague, as if they were part of the trees themselves. I blinked, and they were gone. But I knew they'd been there. I felt their eyes. The whispering returned, this time closer, louder, layered voices murmuring in overlapping tongues. My name was among them. I heard it clearly, repeated, beckoning. The third day, I ran. I picked a direction and ran until my legs gave out. The forest never changed. The sky never moved. Time stopped meaning anything. I began seeing things. Faces in the trees, hands reaching from the soil, and shadows that stretched toward me instead of away. Once, I came across a mirror, just standing there in the middle of a grove. Ornate, antique, with a cracked surface. My reflection smiled when I didn't. At some point, I stumbled upon a house. A Victorian relic rotting into the forest floor. The windows were intact, but black as pitch. A soft light flickered inside. I approached it, hand trembling, drawn like a moth to flame. But as I reached the front steps, the door creaked open on its own. Inside, I saw myself, standing there, smiling, whispering my name. I turned and ran.
If you're enjoying the darkness we've uncovered so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the Black Fog family. New chilling stories and paranormal mysteries drop every week. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's lurking next. Now, back to the story.
Days blurred together. I stopped counting. Food ran out. My phone was dead. I drank from puddles. My skin itched with insect bites and moss. My thoughts unraveled. But I kept walking, moving, refusing to stop even when my feet bled. Eventually, I stumbled out onto a road. Asphalt. Civilization. I collapsed. A passing truck stopped, and the driver took me to a hospital. They said I'd been gone 4 days. 4. But my body showed signs of weeks without sleep. I had bruises, scratches, signs of malnutrition. When they questioned me, I lied. Said I got lost. I didn't mention the humming, the shadows, the mirror. I didn't want them to think I was crazy. But I know what I experienced. I feel it even now. Sometimes I wake up with pine needles in my bed. Sometimes I hear that soft humming just outside my window. And once, just once, I saw my own reflection watching me from the mirror, smiling when I didn't. Whispering pines never let me go. Part of me is still there. And I know, one day, it will come calling again. And next time, I might not make it out.